So recently I produced a video called The Vandalization of Star Trek due to poor writing decisions, political correctness, and social justice themes. But there's been plenty of all of that in the Star Wars franchise of late.
Yep, that's right. We're reviewing the reviewers, aren't we? So this is Dave Cullen, a very right-wing YouTube channel, who is apparently also indulging in my childhood movies. They're so much better than their modern prequels and sequels. Oh jeez, what these young people are doing to my old movies that I loved so much. Uh, I hate people who are like that. The fucking new stuff doesn't take away from the old stuff, you know, because it just adds to it. In fact, people are watching more Star Wars because Star Wars has come out. If you look at any kind of sale, you'll see that when this Star Wars came out, the old DVDs they probably had a huge spike in sales. So it doesn't make sense to bitch about how different it was and how the new stuff is terrible, because it doesn't make sense. The old stuff's still there and you can still have it. But let's see about these social justice problems that Star Wars has. And I'm no friend of social justice, as you may know from my offensive YouTube videos. But let's see what ridiculous gripes this guy has.
Films and produce a dedicated video about it. I could begin with the truly awful prequels, but as I've only ever had the stomach to watch those films once, and they didn't really have much social justice garbage in them, thankfully, I think I'll focus purely on the three most recent films.
Oh, great! So you hate the prequels as well. So there's only like 3 Star Wars movies that you like, and the whole extended universe you probably hate, as well as the games and everything else. That's already a great start.
What's more, and as per usual with Hollywood movies that contain a very left-wing bias, there's always an anti-family, anti-marriage sentiment, and The Force Awakens also succumbs to this. Relationships always seem to break down, and everyone gets divorced and estranged. After apparently going off to live happily ever after at the end of The Return of the Jedi, Han and Leia are now no longer together. Their relationship hit the skids, and though they're still on good terms, they're done as a couple. It's very sad, to be honest, and it really desecrates their character development and the memory of the original films.
Oh yeah, it desecrates it, does it? Oh my god, yeah, what a terrible anti-family sentiment we've got going on here. Oh god, they had a you know, like 50% of all people get a divorce. It's probably even gonna be more in the Star Wars universe. Who knows? where people randomly turn evil for no reason, like Anakin Skywalker did. Oh Jesus! But it desecrates the old story, eh? Oh my god, everything's desecrated, and the fact that they've got a son who's turned into Satan, it's a pretty good reason to split up. What if they father any more demon spawn, eh? It's better to cut this bloodline as short as possible. What are you talking about? It's so desecrating and anti-family. Like, how could you read so much into it? Jesus Christ. I mean, you realize there's gotta be conflict, right, for the movie to be something. Jeez, what did you think we were gonna have them be happily ever after still? My god.
With their separation was largely motivated because of their son Ben Solo, aka Kylo Ren, the film's principal villain.
Well, at least you got that right.
And him turning out to be a mass-murdering psychopath who'd fall into the dark side. I don't know about you, but I think this is a really poor treatment of such sacred and beloved characters. Their final days spent having to deal with this irreconcilable heartbreak and tragedy. Kylo Ren didn't have to be Ben Solo. He didn't have to be their son. He could have been anyone's son. He could have been written with a completely different origin story.
Oh yeah, we couldn't have that now, could we? We couldn't have someone who was trusted turning bad all of a sudden. That would be a completely crazy concept. Or someone who's someone else's son becoming evil, or maybe someone's father was the Dark Lord all along. This is the universe where three people. Three of the main characters turn out to be related to each other and didn't know it. This is the kind of shit we're dealing with here in Star Wars. Like Luke, Darth Vader, and Leia, they're all related. Oh, what a great plot contrivance. Better call the plot hole police for that one. It's just a twist for twist's sake, just like this is, you idiot.
But I'll speak more about Kylo later. The second and most talked about complaint people have with The Force Awakens is with the character of Rey. Now, I really like the actress Daisy Ridley. I think she's a wonderful actress with enormous talent and great range, but the character of Rey is a total Mary Sue. Despite having no prior technical experience, she can fly the Millennium Falcon because, after all, feminism and you gotta get more chicks into STEM, right guys? Affirmative action and all that. She's also...
You realize that spaceships are basically like the cars of Star Wars, right? Are women now not allowed to drive? Is that what you want? I'm just kidding. You're not Saudi Arabia. Well, actually, Saudi Arabia doesn't do that anymore either. But yeah, man, everyone can fly, all right? There are no such things as cars anymore. Everything flies. Even if you buy a motorcycle, it flies. Everything flies in Star Wars, alright? Everyone's a pilot in Star Wars. Luke was a pilot too,
She's also able to access the Force and is a dab hand with a lightsaber without any training, despite the fact that it took several films for Luke Skywalker to become sufficiently competent. She's also able to beat up guys twice her size in a manner similar to Jyn Erso, which, if I'm honest, is never truly believable in films. I know it's fantasy, but I think this is honestly why some people seem to think we need more women in the military, despite the fact that women have, less than, I think it's only about 48% the upper body strength of a man.
Oh boy. I actually would agree with you about that, about women in the military and women beating up men. But you realize that she's actually like space Jesus because she's full of the Force. Just like Luke and just like Anakin. And did you know that Anakin is a little boy that races basically, pod racing. It's basically like Formula 1, but of course there's no cars, so everything has to fly. So he's basically the most overpowered Force user ever, and he's a little boy, and he flies those races, and he's kicking everyone's ass, and then he gets into a cockpit and flies up and wins the war by blowing up the bad guy's main battle station. This isn't anything new, and if you weren't such a retard who thinks that the prequels are unacceptable, then you wouldn't be making these comparisons where it's not unheard of that people can just use the Force and are really good with it, alright? It's not unheard of. She's probably done stuff before. She's been fighting to survive for her whole life. Because she's on that planet. She's a Jesus. Yep, she's got all the powers. I don't know. I think the language things where she can just talk. Wait, no, that makes sense too. Actually, come to think of it, because if you have the Force, then you can read people's minds. So that's why she can talk other languages. Is because she used the Force subconsciously to learn the languages. See, it all makes sense if you just think about it. You fucking idiot.
But that's a minor gripe, I know.
Oh, great, such as the minor gripe. Okay, no problem then.
There's even a scene early on in the film where the White Knight, that is Finn, tries to help her escape, and she tells him that she doesn't need him to hold her hand. It's so cringe-inducing, and obviously...
Yeah, I didn't like that scene at the time either, but now I watched it again, and it's actually kind of a funny scene, because he's holding her hand and running, and if you look closely, you can see that it's actually going to be kind of annoying to run while someone's holding your hand because it throws you off balance. So it would make sense that she would get annoyed by that. It would make sense that he would try to hold her because he wants her to run, because she was just standing there not running. So it actually makes sense, and it's not... He's also White Knight. Yeah, okay. Not to play the race card here, but it's more of a Black Knight. No, but seriously, I think it was a good moment actually. If you just, there's a lot of dumb jokes, but I think this was kind of much less dumb than the jokes in The Last Jedi. So why is Rey so good at the Force? Well, let's see. Luke, he was actually kind of good at the Force, pretty quick. I mean, he was able to lift stuff up pretty quickly. He was able to fight with laser swords pretty quickly, even though obviously not enough to rival Darth Vader, who is like literally space Satan. He's really good at his job of killing people with the Force. And then Anakin, he got an even faster start. He fought in the Clone Wars when he was a little child. And then Rey, well, she's pretty quick too. But you see, Luke, it's the first movie to explore the concept of how to become a Jedi and how to use the Force. So obviously that one's gonna take the longest, right? You can understand that, right? Because it's a new concept. And now we got the prequels where it's already fast and he's already really good at everything, because we don't want to have that slow process of growth every time. And now in this one, it's like the third time where someone learns the ways of the Force, and they're just gonna skip all the boring parts. They're just gonna make it be powerful right away. You know, Luke wasn't even that weak. He just had a really strong enemy, a fucking space Nazi empire. It's pretty hard to fight that, you know? It's perfectly fine that things move faster now, though, because we've seen the old movies, and now we want to take the concepts to the next level, alright?
Both The Force Awakens and Rogue One suffer from very politically correct casting motivated by J.J. Abrams. In a quote I've read several times, he previously said of the casting of The Force Awakens, "We wrote these characters, but when we went to cast it, one of the things I had felt, having been to the Emmys a couple of times, you look around that room and you see the whitest fucking room in the history of time. It's just unbelievably white. And I thought, we're casting this show and we have an opportunity to do anything we want. Why not cast the show with actors of color? Like, not for sure, and if we can't find the actors who are great, we shouldn't, but why not make that effort? Because it wasn't written that way, and isn't that the cooler version of doing this, as opposed to saying, this is an urban show? It fucking kills me when they call something an urban movie, like it's a separate thing, like it's that thing over there."
Well, it's a science fiction universe where everything is random. And you got the Empire, who is basically space Nazis, you see? You know that Nazis are racist, so all the resistance people are therefore gonna be all the races that the Empire doesn't like. My God, what a concept. And you know that quote that you just showed there? He probably just said that to trigger little snowflakes like you, and it worked, so good quote.
So you'll notice in these films that male roles are generally somewhat undermined, but in particular white men. So it's no wonder that the two primary characters in Force Awakens are a white woman and a black man. Harrison Ford's character is killed off, of course, and just like with Unit in Doctor Who, Resistance female characters all have to be placed in prominent roles of authority. Princess Leia is now a general, for example.
Yeah, what a promotion from princess to general.
This kind of politically biased casting is most notable in Rogue One and The Last Jedi. In Rogue One, the primary character of Jyn Erso is, as I described in my Rogue One review, she's dull, two-dimensional, and has one gear. 1,000-mile, intense, melancholic, constipated stare.
Oh, wow. So how detailed was Luke? Was there anything more to Luke than just as good as possible? Was there anything more to Luke than just Jesus? No. I don't think so. God, the hero's always the most boring part. That's just how it's gonna be, alright? Unless you talk about the prequels, where the hero turns into the villain, and it's a brilliant show, but nope, you don't care for that one either.
Now, I'm all for strong female leads, but this character isn't female. That's the insulting aspect of this. Hollywood thinks femininity is patriarchal or something, so chicks have to be masculinized in order to be considered strong, because they don't see femininity as being a virtue, which is actually insulting to women. Girls don't aspire to be these kinds of heroines. Boys aspire to be these kinds of stoic action heroes. Is it any wonder we live in a world of such utterly disturbing gender confusion where masculinity in men is shamed now? This character of Jin is a dead behind the eyes robot. Recast this character with a man and nothing changes. Gender is fluid after all, right? No, it's not. Thank God.
Oh, wow. So, you're all for strong female characters, huh? So what's that then? A strong woman who just cooks really well? My God.
The only prominent white character is Orson Krennic, who is, wouldn't you know it, the principal bad guy. Yes, white men are bad. Virtue signal to the max. Have to process that white guilt, right? Once again, the leading authority figure for the good guys is Senator Mon Mothma, yet another female character. In The Last Jedi, things really go full SJW in terms of female authority figures. General Leia is back in charge, and when she's injured, the rather inept Vice Admiral Amilyn Holdo is left in charge. Not only does she look like a stereotypical purple-haired SJW, but her decisions are irrational, emotional, and downright irresponsible, and she fails to take any responsibility for her failures. Poe Dameron, BB-8, Finn, and another new character engage in a very necessary mutiny in order to develop an actually sensible and practical plan that won't end up getting every Resistance ship destroyed, and the best Holdo and the recovered Leia can do at the end of the film is to pull rank, with Leia simply shooting Dameron because he disobeyed her. But she's not an unreasonable autocrat or anything. Dameron's ideas actually made sense. Holdo's plan jeopardized the lives of the entire Resistance fleet, and as predicted by Dameron, the First Order began picking off the Resistance vessels one by one. The two obnoxious female characters of Leia and Holdo have a right good chuckle about Dameron, calling him a hothead because, of course, masculinity's so toxic, right? Let's choose the feels over an actual practical plan that would...
Let's go with those feels, am I right? Because I felt real bad when Poe Dameron was emasculated by that purple-haired woman. That clearly means she's terrible, right? My God. Yeah, you've clearly analyzed this movie to the fullest, haven't you? God damn it, man. It's really obvious that her plan would probably have worked if it weren't for the mutiny, and I'm pretty sure the mutiny is what caused the Empire to notice those cloaked ships and start shooting them. So yeah, you're just being ridiculous here. And what's even the problem? You say you want complex characters, but then you don't want Poe Dameron to have any faults, do you? You just want him to be perfect in every way, and you just look at him that way as if he hadn't done anything wrong ever. I mean, I love him too, but you want character development, right? You want him to learn something. Like, he doesn't know how to obey commands at first, and then he makes a mistake, and then it's still good in the end, though. Well, it's not that good, but he's learned, and now he'll be better. He'll do the right thing next time, and he'll obey the chain of command. I mean, you're gonna have a chain of command if you're gonna have a military operation, man. You realize? And the pink-haired lady, she wasn't even that bad. She had a plan, but she didn't tell everyone her plan because she thought that there was a mole, and there probably was a mole, because how did they track her through light speed? I don't fully remember, but I'm pretty sure that she had good reason to have this secret plan, and then Poe Dameron fucked it up, and his crew of idiots.
The First Order are made to look clownish, buffoonish, and in no way threatening, and completely incompetent. But they are commanded by a white man, so obviously they have to be depicted in this way, right? The best
Yeah, I actually agree that the First Order is really stupid. I mean, the leadership of the First Order is really stupid. It's really quite puzzling why that is, but I'm sure it doesn't have anything to do with those identity politics reasons.
While many of their ships got blown to bits in space, and where the First Order would have them cornered. It took Luke Skywalker and Rey to help them escape again. All of this could have been avoided had they just followed the plan of the mutineers.
Yeah, that's how it is, isn't it? If two people that work in the same group have two different plans and they both follow their different plans, it's a recipe for disaster, and that's why you fucking follow the one with the authority, and then hope that their plan's good. You can't just have two plans and then have. It's like pulling. It's like a tug of war in that case. You're gonna pull in the same direction if you're gonna win.
The character of Luke Skywalker has also been massively compromised, spending his days broken-hearted, downbeat, defeated, world-weary, and cynical on some island somewhere. His faith in the Jedi broken following his failure and regret when it came to Ben Solo. Not exactly an existence befitting a legendary and beloved character of the franchise.
Yeah, who would like that, eh? Some old crumpy guy just sitting around and having lost faith in the new Star Wars. God, who would do such a thing? Oh my God, I just realized it makes perfect sense. It's you. You're the. He has to be that way because that's the old people who are just upset that the old Star Wars is now different. That's why he's cynical and living as a hermit. Oh my God, now it all makes sense.
And the actor Mark Hamill seems to resent this direction, also saying in an interview, "When I read 8, I told Rian Johnson, the writer-director, I fundamentally disagree with virtually everything you've decided about my character." He also described Han Solo's death in Force Awakens.
Yeah, you want to read that rest there too? But it might be a good sign. I was really wrong about 7. Yeah, that's right. People actually like it. And Hamill actually is really good. If you listen to his interviews, he's a real good sport about it, about the fact that his character is now different. Sometimes you just gotta play someone who you don't agree with. That's how being an actor works. And this is like one quote out of an hour-long interview. You know, if you watch the whole thing, he's just such a joy to listen to, and he's not as cynical as you and Luke Skywalker.
He fell to the dark side. You don't need to overthink it anymore. He's just a bad guy now. Don't ask too many questions as to why he fell to the dark side. Ooh, isn't he evil as he does evil things? Now, though I wouldn't call myself a massive Star Wars fan, I do really enjoy it.
I mean, it would seem that way, but then in The Last Jedi, it's actually... I thought he was pretty interesting, the way he took over the Empire and everything. I thought that was real good. I thought he was complex in a way, but then he still wanted to kill Rey's friends, which was weird, I guess. So I think it's kind of odd, because at first it seemed like he was going to be good again, but now he's not going to be good. What's going to happen? I'm actually looking forward to seeing what's going to happen from this guy. It's too bad about this scar that he has, because I thought he was going to have that metal piece there instead of his skin healing. That would have looked way cooler, but nope, it's just gone back to a scar after he's removed that metal piece. Oh.
Now, though I wouldn't call myself a massive Star Wars fan, I do really enjoy this franchise. I really like Star Wars as entertaining cinema, but I can smell political correctness and SJW material a mile away. It's sad to say that this wonderful franchise is now as much a victim of all of this as the likes of Doctor Who and Star Trek. But those are just my thoughts on where the Star Wars franchise is going.
Oh yeah, you can smell those social justice warriors, can't you? Or maybe you're just paranoid. Do you ever consider that? Because I'm thinking that's very likely. And you being a Star Wars fan, this is not what that sounded like, you know? I mean, I probably took out the worst parts and responded to them, so if you want to see his whole video, you can look at it in the description, but I mean, this doesn't sound like a man who's a fan of Star Wars, to be honest. But let's see. Well, actually, there's nothing to see, I guess, unless we wait a year and then see what he's gonna have to say about the next episode. Well, at least he's still on to the next episode. I think. Is he actually? I don't remember. I remember some people said they weren't gonna watch the last episode of this trilogy, but they'd have to be idiots, because it's gonna be great. I don't know. Well, we'll see if he's gonna respond to it. I guess he'll have to, because he responds to things about movies. Well, subscribe for more, and yeah, movies and stuff. I do movie reviews on my Good Stuff for Your Eyeballs channel instead of my main channel. So if you want to hear me talk more about Star Wars, check out that channel. Goodbye.